Fans, in this position, black just played rook takes c5, and white has a number of tactical motives in this position. First, the black king is very weak on h8. It's open, it doesn't have many squares to go. And second, white's pieces are all eyeing the king and are ready for the attack. The knight controls important dark squares around the king. The queen is also ready to jump into the action. So after rook takes h7 check, king takes queen h5, and the forced king to g8, we have additional two motives in this position. First, there is the knight fork on the king and the rook here. And second, this rook is also pinned because the queen on e8 is not protected by any piece. So that after knight takes e7 check, queen takes, the queen deflects, the queen is deflected from the protection of the rook. Queen takes g6 check. White has one material, but black will also be mated. After king h8, rook f5, white is ready to give mate. And after queen to g7, white has queen e8 check, king h7, and white will win the queen and the game. Okay, in the next position, black to move has just played bishop takes f3, and black now has 3 pieces versus white's 2 pieces. And motives in this position are that both of the queens are attacked, but the black queen actually doesn't have so many squares. These squares here are taken by the bishop. These squares here are taken by the other bishop, and so is this square. This square is taken by the pawn, and those squares are taken by the bishops as well. So the queen really is a little bit short of squares. And while the normal looking queen takes f3, queen takes, g takes f3 does not give white any advantage. Of course, black would not play, or white would be happy if black played queen takes g5, because it would allow white to capture the rook. So while all of this doesn't give white an advantage, queen d2 serves a number of purposes. First, it takes the queen out of the danger square and out of the attack of the bishop, which still leaves the attack of the bishop on the queen intact, and the queen also protects the bishop. And now this queen does not have any squares to go other than taking the pawn on d4, and the queen is lured into a trap also after taking the pawn, because bishop b5 check is a discovered attack on the queen, and black will lose the queen and the game. Okay, let's have a look at the next position. In this position, black just played knight to e5, and it's white to move. What tactical motives are in this position here for white? First, there is this strong bishop taking some squares around the king. And there seems to be the second motive, which is a weakness on the dark square. So those two bishops actually work together quite nicely against the king. So that's one tactical element of this position. Second, there is this battery of the queens and the rook hitting both f7 and potentially also causing trouble for the king on the back rank. And lastly, because of this curious configuration of the queen and the king, there's also the motive of maybe a knight fork here on e6. And so, analyzing different candidate moves, will bring you to knight to e6 check, and after f takes, bishop to g5, you can see that these moves sort of combine all of the motives. And after bishop to e7, queen to f8 check, and the bishop is pinned against the king, and this bishop is taking away our squares from the king, so the only move black has is rook takes, which runs into rook f8 check, beautifully combining all the tactical motives we have seen before. Okay, in this position, white has just played rook to f2. It's black to move, and what are tactical properties of this position? Well, first, this bishop here is taking away important squares from the king, and maybe there is some issues of back rank mate because of that. Second, black seems to have this nice battery of bishop and queen eyeing on g3 and also on h2. Okay, so after bishop takes g3, h takes g3, queen takes g3 check, white cannot move rook to g2 because of rook takes e1 check, queen takes and mate. So the white king has to move to h1. And now after rook takes e1 check, queen takes, there's two more motives. First, this rook is pinned against the queen. And second, there is the motive of a mate with bishop and queen. So after bishop to g2 check, the rook doesn't want to take because of the pin. So the only move is to move the king back. And this is the common motive of giving a check and then it is cover check by moving the bishop back again. Only move king to f1, and after queen h3 check, king g1, queen h1 checkmate. Okay, the last position of this video, white has just played rook to h1. What are motives in this position? Okay, one tactical property is that this queen is vulnerable to a discovered attack by the rook. So if this rook moves somewhere and does pose a threat by moving somewhere, black automatically has the second threat of taking the queen. And second property is this back rank weakness of the king. And this brings us to rook h3, threatening both taking the queen and threatening rook takes h1 checkmate, so that after rook take h3 we would win the queen. And also, if the rook tries to parry both of the threats, protecting the queen and not allowing the rook to give mate here, this does not help because it runs into queen takes, rook takes, and rook h1 check and checkmate. Okay, thanks for watching. See you next time.